Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video. We thought it was only appropriate, Soft, that we do this kind of video to thank David Moyes for everything that has been achieved thus far in the last 4 or 5 years since he's returned to the club in his second spell. Who knows? Like he said, there may be a third spell, highly unlikely, but from if we just go back and look at where we were to where we are now, it's been a pretty substantial change, in my opinion. And I think we mustn't forget the progress we've made under David Moyes. Yes, the last couple of years have been frustrating at times, and we've advocated for change, even last summer after the Conference League, and I think he deserves the credit and respect. So, just as an overview, 230 matches in his second spell, 103 wins, 84 defeats, 43 draws, points per game of 1.53, which is extremely high for West Ham. That average is the highest we've had in the Premier League. And, if you just look at David Moyes' career as a whole at West Ham and during that second spell, Sloth, how would you sum it up just as a first summary?
I think this has got to be the sort of pinnacle for him in terms of the progression, because let's face it, though he got Champions League with Everton, I think Everton have never been relegated. They're a side that has been a constant in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And so what he's done with West Ham really merits a lot of applause in terms of the progress we've made in the Europa League as well. I mean, that's something he wasn't quite able to do with Everton. He was never able to consistently get them in European tournaments. And that's no disrespect to Everton. I just think that's, it's something that he improved over time. Not, avoided Manchester United, but I think there's definitely something there that he's going to get another job. I don't think it will necessarily be a big job, but I hope it is. I hope he gets one of the big the only job in Scotland that he wants.
Yeah.
I think hats off to him. He's done a fantastic job. I don't think it's without criticism, but that's not quite what this video is all about. And it's something that I think. I was just thinking a couple of minutes ago, and if you told me 6 years ago that we'd be having away days in Spain and in Germany, it's something that I wouldn't have really paid much attention to. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you factor that in, it's a lot of football fans have very short memories. And even when my granddad was alive and we went out to Frankfurt, he said, I don't know how many more chances I'll get to go to Europe. And, sadly, he didn't make it to the final. But that's the kind of thing that when I see some of the vehement towards Moyes, and look, I get everyone's entitled to their opinion. Nobody is entitled to abuse. In my opinion, but I think from where we were, a very real prospect of going down, to European semi-finals and to winning the Conference League, playing Bayer Leverkusen, who are the darlings of Europe, mm-hmm. It's a huge mark of the ability that he does have and how far he's taken the club.
100%. I think as well, you have to put things into perspective. It was only during that COVID season when he came back into the club, 4 years ago or so. It was, I remember getting extremely nervous for a match against Watford at home when it was behind closed doors because of the importance of it and, how much was riding on survival at the time. And, you fast forward to 4 years, you're getting nervous for Leverkusen at home or, going out to Fiorentina, going out to Prague to play Fiorentina in a cup final. It's put in perspective into things, take away the last couple of years or how you view Moyes' football or, just look at it objectively right now. He's done an incredible job at West Ham. He really has, and he deserves the absolute respect that we should be giving him. 100% it's time to move on. We've definitely in agreement of that. all good things come to an end. There's time for change. Football does not stand still. That's the thing. You know, you could really see it with any club. Mikel Arteta next season could be under pressure if he doesn't win anything again. You know, it could suddenly turn, you know, despite the job that he's done there in the last few years, which is, again, slightly different, but, you know, it's put Arsenal back to a position where they're competing for titles. With West Ham, it's all relative. You know, we were fighting relegation. We've now been in Europe 3 seasons in a row. We finished 6th. We finished 7th. Again, there's nuances to that as well. I feel like we could have pushed on and done a little bit better, but again, we're finishing 6th and 7th, and then, you know, winning a Europa Conference League, which people do taint as kind of a, you know, Mickey Mouse competition or something that it shouldn't be, just because we were expected to beat teams. But I don't agree with that. I think winning a European tournament, no matter which tournament, is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Again, not comparing it with the likes of Man City, but there's a reason why they've only won the Champions League once when they've been the favourite the last 4 or 5 times. It's because it's incredibly difficult to do. So I don't take that away from Moyes at all. He gave me the best memory I've had as a fan out in Prague. And, you know, like you mentioned, the last few years has been incredible. You know, those European away days, we never thought we'd be getting those at this stage when Moyes returned. I think we were all kind of like, why is Moyes returning? It seems like it's a temporary solution to a permanent problem. But he's changed that. He's changed how the club is viewed, not only from West Ham fans, but outside of West Ham fans. You know, we've beaten some fantastic teams over the last 4 years, and I think we've managed to finally get some consistency. That has dropped over the last couple of years, but, you know, it's very difficult to maintain that in the Premier League with the other teams that are involved, and, you know, with limited, let's say, adaptations to the squad, which needed to be made. So for me, David Moyes has done an outstanding job, and I think he deserves the credit that I think it's kind of good. Do you feel like it's gone a little bit unnoticed, his farewell, or do you think he's been appreciated and recognised by West Ham fans in majority?
I think it's been a bit tainted. You know, we did a video earlier in the year and actually last year about whether he deserved a new contract or not. And I said, you know, the way he started the season, just purely on paper, you've got to say he deserves a contract, but it was with the caveat that he gets backed. And you can argue whether he did or not. You know, he got Phillips, and that was very much his insistence, but he didn't get a striker in the summer. There have been certain things that have gone against him overall, you know, mostly from the boardroom, in the lack of recruitment. But his recruitment at times also needs to be criticised as well. So it's a double-edged sword, and I think, as you said, it's the right time to part ways. But I do think he deserves a lot more recognition for what he's done. I will caveat that by saying it doesn't need the snide comments that you get from a number of pundits who use this whole cliche of be careful what you wish for. And I think there is definitely room for progression. There is room for improvement, but it's only because there is the foundation that he's built and implemented that it looks the way it does. It's something that I really don't like getting involved in you know, criticism of, well, I don't get involved in abuse of managers. I don't think it's right. But after the Crystal Palace game, I felt that he probably should have gone. You know, I think those thrashings, there's no other word for it, you know, those thrashings were unacceptable, and those will taint how a lot of fans feel now. But I think as soon as a manager comes in, and if they have a little bit of a dry spell, I think people will start to you know, go to talk about Moyes maybe in more pleasant terms and positive manner. But I think that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of football, unfortunately.
I think that's a good point. You know, I think if our season had been kind of flipped, where we started really poorly and then went on the run that we did at the beginning of the season towards the end, and we had some really good results and finished like just outside Europe, people would probably view it a little bit differently. But yeah, I completely agree. I think it's time to move on. I think it's just, the appreciation needs to be shown, and I think we need to not forget where we were, because we've come a massive way in 4 years. We really have as a football club, and I'm hoping we now push on. I'm hoping that has provided the platform for us to push on. Moyes said it himself in his press conference, saying, he does wish that West Ham now push on and, continue with the foundations that have been set in the club. So there's 100% work to do. It's by no means perfect. There's a lot of room to do to improve, but we've had some fantastic success. So yeah, I think final time, thank you very much to David Moyes for everything he's done in the last 4 years. Massively appreciate the European trophy as always. Definitely a highlight for me. What about you, Slough? Other than the Europa Conference League final, is there anything that stands out to you during Moyes' second tenure at West Ham?
I think there's been a number of good results. You look at the Liverpool home game, and yeah, just as mentioned, the Europa League runs that we went on. Disappointing in the end, but as I said, we suffered for Avram Grant. I've been to bloody Bolton away with West Ham and seen us get trolloped, and it's very strange to be sat here talking about trips like Frankfurt away when you've got people going and effing and blinding at him. I think he deserves a whole lot of recognition and positive praise. It's over now. There's no need to hold any grudges or bitterness. There's just celebrate what has happened. And I think, the Alkmaar away game down in pints with Andy Carroll, I think that's that's something that's going to stick in my mind probably for the rest of my life. And yeah, he's a big part of that. So yeah,
completely agree. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video, and if there's any Moyes support in the comments, it'd be nice to see that for a change. So anything positive that you will remember Moyes by, and anything over the last 4 years that stands out to you that we haven't mentioned, make sure to leave that in the comment as well. And yeah, we'll be back with another video tomorrow, and until next time, Slough,
come on you
irons.
irons.